Harry Clemens Ulrich Kessler was an Anglo-German count, diplomat, writer, and patron of modern art. English translations of his diaries, Journey to the Abyss, and Berlin in Lights reveal anecdotes and details of artistic, theatrical, and political life in Europe, mostly in Germany, for the late 19th century through the collapse of Germany at the end of World War I until his death in Lyon in 1937. Family. Harry Kessler's parents were the Hamburg banker Adolf Wilhelm Kessler and Alice Harriet Bloss Lynch, the daughter of Anglo-Irish Henry Bloss Lynch, C.B. of Partry House, County Mayo. Kessler's parents married in Paris on 10 August 1867. Kessler was born, also in Paris, in 1868. Kessler's younger sister was born in 1877, and was named Wilhelmina after Kaiser Wilhelm I, who became the child's godfather. After marriage, her name would become Wilma de Brian. There were many rumors about a supposed affair between Kaiser Wilhelm I and Countess Kessler. The swift rise of the Kessler family led to a legend that either Harry or his sister were the illegitimate offspring of the Emperor and Alice Kessler. But Harry was born 2 years before his mother met the Emperor, and the Emperor was 80 years old when his sister Wilhelmina was born. Curiously, Alice Bloss Lynch is recorded as having died unmarried in 1919 in Burke's Irish family records. Adolf Wilhelm Kessler was ennobled in 1879 and again in 1881, Harry inheriting the titles on his father's death. Life and work. Kessler grew up in France, England and Germany. Kessler was educated first in Paris and then, from 1880, in St. George's School, Ascot, an English boarding school. Following his father's wishes he enrolled in 1882 at the Gelehrtenschule des Johanneums in Hamburg, where he completed his Abitur. Afterwards he joined the 3rd Guard ULAN Regiment in Potsdam and earned the rank of an army officer. He studied law and art history in Bonn and Leipzig respectively. Kessler was familiar with many cultures, traveled widely, was active as a German diplomat, and came to be known as a man of the world and patron of the arts. He considered himself part of European society. After moving to Berlin in 1893, he worked on the Art Nouveau journal Pan, which published literary work by, among others, Richard Demel, Theodor Fontaine, Friedrich Nietzsche, Dieter von Lilienkron, Julius Hart, Novalis, Paul Verlaine and Alfred Lichtwark. The short-lived journal also published graphic works by numerous artists including Henry van der Velde, Max Liebermann, Otto Eckmann and Ludwig van Hoffmann. On 24 March 1903 Kessler assumed control of the Museum für Kunst und Kunstgewerbe in Weimar. There he worked with new exhibition concepts and the establishment of a permanent arts and crafts exhibit. In 1904, during his work in Weimar, Kessler began to publish a group of bibliophilic books containing artistic compositions of typography and illustrations. In the beginning he cooperated with the German Insel Verlag. In 1913 he founded his own company, the Chronic Press, of which he became the director. Around 1909, Kessler developed a concept for a comic opera together with Hugo van Hofmannsthal, and together they read the libretto. Richard Strauss provided the music, and in 1911 Der Rosenkavalier premiered in Dresden under the baton of Ernst von Schuck. Around 1913 Kessler commissioned Edward Gordon Craig, an English theatrical designer and theoretician, to make woodcut illustrations for a sumptuous edition of Shakespeare's Hamlet for the Chronic Press. A German translation by Gerhard Hauptmann, with illustrations by Craig, was finally published in Weimar in 1928. The English version, edited by J. Dover Wilson, came out in 1930. This book, printed on fine paper, using different typefaces, with marginal notes with source quotations, and featuring Craig's woodcuts, is regarded by many as one of the finest examples of the printer's art to have been published in the 20th century. It is still sought by collectors worldwide. Kessler's ideas of reforming culture went beyond the visual arts. He developed a Reformation concept for the theatre which was supported by Edward Gordon Craig, Max Reinhardt and Karl Wallmoller. Kessler asserted that a so-called Muster Theatre should be established. The Belgian architect Henry van der Velde sought to design the corresponding building. On the initiative of Kessler, many prominent writers were invited to introduce a literary modernity to Weimar, but the hegemonic opinions were considered too conservative and nationalistic, and the plans for the Muster Theatre failed. During his Weimar period, Kessler became close friends with Elisabeth Forster Nietzsche, the sister of late Friedrich Nietzsche. At the suggestion of Kessler, she chose Weimar as domicile for the Nietzsche-archive. In 1903, Kessler launched the Deutsche Künstlerbund and became its vice president. The consortium supported less acknowledged artists including Edward Munch, Johannes Arbecher, Dieter von Lilienkron and the painters of Die Brücke. In 1906, an exhibition commotion gave reason to depose Kessler from his office. An exhibition of drawings at the Grand Ducal Museum by Rodin and dedicated in error to the Grand Duke of Saxe-Thuringia was considered as a risk to the wives and daughters of Weimar. This was followed by a smear campaign that Kessler considered to be an intrigue by Emil Charles Vincent von Palaiseau, a retired Prussian general and court-martial in Weimar, but which led to Kessler's resignation. Palaiseau died less than a year later on the 10th of February 1907, just before receipt of a challenge to a duel from Kessler. Later years, Kessler saw active service on the Western Front during World War I. In 1918 he returned to his estate in Weimar, recording that although the house seemed unchanged from 1913 and his old servants and pets greeted him with affection, his collections of paintings, statues, books and mementos reflected a European intellectual and cultural community which was now dead, missing, scattered, or become enemies. During World War I, Kessler and Carl Gustav Wallmoller worked together at the German embassy in Bern for the cultural department of the Foreign Office. They developed activities aimed at peace plans with France and England. In November 1918, Kessler was German ambassador to Warsaw in the newly independent Poland. In 1919 he wrote a plan for a League of Nations on the basis of an organization of organizations, which contains the constitution of such an international confederation of states. The purpose of this covenant was above all to prevent new wars, securing human rights and the regulation of world trade. The main body of this covenant would be the World Council, which also elected an executive committee. Under his plan, a World Justice Hof, a World Court of Arbitration and administrative authorities would be built. This ordered by paragraphs plan had the form of a state constitution. Another plan for a supranational organization he developed in 1920 as guidelines for a true League of Nations in the form of a resolution. In 1922 he served for a short time as the president of the German Peace Society, of which he was a member from 1919 to 1929. In the 1920s, Kessler tried to influence as a journalist on the political debates of the Weimar Republic. He wrote essays on different social and foreign policy issues, such as socialism or the League of Nations. He belonged to the left liberal German Democratic Party and wrote a biography of his 1922 murdered friend Walther Rathenau. In 1924, he was a DDP candidate for the Reichstag. When this attempt failed, he withdrew from politics. In the 20s, Kessler was frequently a guest at the Berlin Saisiso Club. In 1932-33, material co-edited by him appeared in the magazine Das Freie Wort. After the Nazis' seizure of power in 1933, Kessler resigned and emigrated to Paris, then to Mallorca and finally to the southern French provinces. He died in 1937 in Lyon. It was presumed that Kessler's earlier diaries had been lost, but they were found in 1983 in a safe in Mallorca. In 2004, the first definitive 9-volume edition was published in Germany, and the first English edition of the 1880 to 1918 years was published in 2011. Works gesammelte Schriften in drei Banden. Fischer, Frankfurt, M. 1988. ISBN 3-596-25678-X. Volume 1. Geschichte und Zeiten. Volume 2. Notizen über Mexico. Volume 3. Erinnerungen, das Tagebuch 1880-1937. Klett-Cotta, Stuttgart 2004 FF. Published. Volume 2 to 1892-1897. ISBN 3-7681-9812-X. Volume 9 to 1926-1937. ISBN 3-7681-98197. Walther Rathenau, Sein Leben und Werk.